Welcome back, Red Top Podcast Season 2, Episode 1. We have a lot in store for you guys this summer, so I'm really looking forward to really diving in. And we're going to start off strong today. We have a special guest. Not only is he a great friend of ours, but he is an incredible fisherman. From urban fishing in Connecticut to surf fishing the Cape, he does it all. Welcome to the podcast, Joe Baggs Pro Staffer, Jared Bessette.
Thank you for having me, guys. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome.
And I will openly admit, we recorded this podcast already.
Yeah, this is take two.
This is take two. We had some audio issues the first time, so hopefully this one will be better than that. I would assume it will be because we did cover a lot in the first one, so I think this will be a great podcast for you guys. Today we're going to be talking about springtime holdovers, kind of when you should start, what to look for, and all that. And then we'll move into springtime schoolies when those migratory fish show up. But first, I want to start with talking with Jared about kind of his story with Joe, how we met him, if it was just, a random occurrence or if it just was meant to be between you two.
Definitely probably like a random occurrence, I would say. It was like probably 2017, 2018. He had like what was it? It was like a swatter giveaway pretty much. Somehow, some way I ended up winning it. Got hooked on the swatters because I always loved like my subsurface swimmers. And yeah, just kept shooting the shit with them, sending them photos, and then next thing you know we started fishing, and then yeah, that's took off from right there.
Nice. Well, I guess we'll dive right in. We'll give a quick shout out to Joe because we all love Joe. I was talking with him the other day. He's a great guy, and we've had him on the podcast before. So if you haven't caught that one, definitely go back because it is, I would think, one of the funniest podcasts we've recorded.
Definitely.
I think
You're right.
Top two outside of the shark one.
They were, yeah. I would say our shark podcast with Chris was our best content wise, but that podcast with Joe was absolutely hysterical. So I guess we'll start with kind of having you and Ian talk about, the big difference between holdover and migratory fish. Obviously, we can skip the part where, a holdover fish is a fish that won't migrate in the fall and usually goes up into the rivers on the Cape or anywhere down the East Coast and holds over for the winter. And your migratory fish are those ones coming up the coast from spawn. We'll kind of hit, what's the big difference, I guess, activity-wise, and kind of just go from that.
Yeah, definitely like activity-wise, they ain't gonna be all fired up like most of the fish are down south. They're more lethargic. You got to fish for them a lot slower, and that's really kind of it.
Okay.
There ain't really a big difference on them, other than the fact that they don't have lice.
They don't have lice, yeah. What would you say, like, I guess, what would you compare holdover fishing to? I guess, you can do a freshwater crossover or just any type of other, saltwater fishing. What would be the most comparative fishing to holdover fishing for stripers?
Like largemouth bass fishing.
Like largemouth?
Yeah, I kind of like switch up my mentality, and I kind of go for like almost like I was just gonna go catch like a largemouth bass in a river, pretty much.
Okay. All right, and obviously, you need to know where to fish. So, what are you looking for in a holdover spot? And I guess, how are you finding them? Are you scrolling Google Maps? Or are you, just driving around and you happen to see a spot? Or what's your main, spot producer? And what are you looking for out of a spot?
So basically, I like to look at like Google Maps, kind of get an idea of where I'm scouting and what I'm scouting, and then from there, I like to kind of go at low tide, check out, the surroundings and see what you're actually physically dealing with eye to eye. And you want to make sure you want to find like a muddy bottom, because that muddy bottom holds temperature. And with it holding temperature and holding heat, it's going to draw the fish in there. And that's your best bet to like find these holdover fish. It's not like you can just go off a dock and cast and catch a holdover. You got to actually put in a lot of effort to find them.
Good. What about you, Ian?
I mean, yeah, the biggest difference for me that I've always noticed is that when those first fresh fish arrive, they're always super hungry. Like they're just chewing. Like you can throw top water, you can throw subsurface, you can throw jigs, and they'll eat it. When you're going after holdovers, it's more of a finesse fishing. You're bouncing the bottom with like sluggos and other small soft plastic, and sometimes bigger ones depending where you are. It's not the same. It's just a huge difference. But once those holdover fish, like right around now, I would say, start kind of getting fired up. We've had Southwest wind for 4 or 5 days now. With the warm rain, spiked the water temperatures 3-4 degrees.
Yeah.
So those fish are going to be really hungry and really chewing because over the winter they're not eating much. They're kind of saving and conserving energy, holding, like Jared said, by those muddy bottoms and those warmer pockets of water to really keep their body temperature up. And they are, even if you bounce it off their head, sometimes like you'll feel your jig bounce off a holdover or two before they actually eat it, or if they want to eat, because like Jared compared them to right before, I would say, this warmer weather, largemouth bass fishing. It's lots of them have lockjaw. You can see them, you can cast right on top of them, but they're not going to eat with that colder water.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked a little bit the other day when we did the first recording, and the biggest difference for me was the fight. Like a holdover fish does not fight at all like a springtime fish. Like a springtime fish, you get a couple of good runs, you get the head shakes, you get all that. Holdover fish, I mean, especially if you're fishing in a current like we did down in Connecticut, there's not a lot that the fish does. I mean, honestly, you almost don't even recognize when you hook the fish. Like the second fish I caught that day, I think it was Christmas Eve. I didn't even know I had fish. I thought I had weeds. My lure was wrapped up, and the fish did end up coming up and came up out of that dark brown water, and it was a fish. But they fight much different. They kind of just want to hold the bottom. They don't really want to fight and exert energy, because all they're doing is sitting glued to that muddy bottom, kind of getting whatever warmth they can, especially if we have a very cold winter. What would you say? Obviously, holdover fishing, springtime fishing, a lot of people here talks about rivers and salt ponds. What would you say the biggest difference is between fishing a river and a salt pond? What one do you like fishing more? And actually, I guess there's no and. I'm sure it'll come back to me, but go with that for now.
So I definitely like fishing a river over a salt pond, and like there is a couple differences. Like I said, so if I was like looking at a salt pond, I'm gonna look to see if it has the muddy bottom and what type of bait is gonna hold in it. In my preference, when I'm fishing a salt pond, the holdover is gonna be a lot smaller, typically a micros to maybe slot size. They're feeding on like grass shrimp, mummy chogs, maybe glass eels that come in during the spring, compared to like a river where if it's like a dam affected river, you could have herring holding up in there. Possibly white perch. White perch is another good bait source for stripers. And if you're fishing, obviously in a river, you kind of want to stick with that outgoing tide, because that's where you're going to have a max flow, especially if it's a dam river and you're having thousands of gallons of water flowing off the edge of the dam.
Sure.
You don't want to fish the incoming tide where tide's fighting the dam water. If you fish the outgoing tide, now you have more flow, and it's going to trigger those fish in the feed in because it has a stronger tidal current.
That, and I think, obviously it's very cold water, so it's not oxygenated as well, but the moving water will be
more
obviously
oxygenated.
Okay.
And like a salt pond, for example, like I said, you would want to find that muddy bottom, so that way you could figure out where a good muddy flat is going to be, so that way you can predict, hey, it's a good warm day, that area is going to be warm, and possibly by the time nighttime comes, or obviously sunset, you can go out and take a couple casts and you have a better chance of hooking up, because you're dialing down like a specific spot like that.
What is your experience with slack tide? Because I know in the summertime, me and Connor actually found out that when you're beach fishing, not necessarily in the canal, but when you're in the surf, slack tide is a great time to catch your better fish. How would you say that translates over to holdover fishing? Do you notice that you still can catch fish during the slack, or is it like a solely moving water thing?
I have caught fish in the slack, and mainly my bigger fish have came close to slack or on slack or almost on the switch up end of slack. Mainly like the end of an outgoing triggers these fish to go batshit crazy because they know they're not going to feed for that incoming tide. This is river fishing. This ain't obviously salt pond. Salt pond fishing, you can fish an outgoing or an income and catch fish.
Okay. And I know we touched on it last week, and we did a little bit earlier with the salt ponds and kind of comparing it to freshwater fishing. When you're fishing salt ponds, you want to almost treat it as if you're fishing like a pre-spawn largemouth bass. The fish will during the day move up into the shallower water just to get that warm water from the sunlight. And they will move a little deeper in the afternoons, but you're really looking for fish that are almost staging to leave the rivers and the salt ponds, because most of the times a salt pond, the way to get out of it is the river. So, I mean, and that can be a great choke point in the summer, especially when those migratory fish show up to catch fish. But when you're holdover fishing, and you almost want to get ready as if those fish are going to migrate themselves out of the salt pond. So it was just a little thought there. And I know you mentioned the bait and how you have, the glass eels, the grass shrimp. What lures are you throwing to imitate them? Or I guess we'll say, what are your 3 favorite lures to imitate that bait and to produce holdover fish?
I mean, I guess I really could say like I have like 3 favorite lures because use a variety, but definitely like say if I'm fishing a river and I know that eels are moving around, I'm gonna be throwing basically a block island eel, 9-inch block island eel.
Okay.
Definitely a good bait. Fish love it. If the glass eels are in, I notice I definitely do drop down to like a small like 6-inch sluggo.
Okay.
On a lighter jig head, and that still kills it. Also little white patriot fish, like little like
just a little white swim baits, the traditional
half-ounce head.
Yeah.
If you can even get a Patriots fish body and like a 1/4 ounce back bay jig Joe makes, that will still even kill it. Sometimes you want to try to get as small as possible. If that's only if you're fishing, like I said, salt ponds, rivers, don't be afraid to put something big and hook it out there.
Sure. And I just went blank on that question, and it was a good one. Let me think. All right, we'll come back to it. So how do you I know we did touch on using Google Maps and finding spots, but what are some, I guess, more creative ways that you could recommend to the listeners to find spots and kind of keep their options open and not be stuck trying 3 spots all the time?
Definitely try your choke points, but don't be afraid to obviously go explore around those choke points, because sometimes the fish do in fact hold up a little bit down from those choke points, down in the rips. And who knows, you might be able to find like a little drop off where more fish are going to be hiding and holding. Sure.
And when you refer to, I know you just said there, the rips outside of choke points, are those, mainly created by holes and deeper water drop-offs or structure, or
I mean, I still take everything that I would fish during the summer and put it into consideration of fishing it just the same way in the wintertime.
Okay.
So, the only thing you're really doing different in the wintertime is slowing your roll. You're not going to sit there and try to burn jigs in. Definitely, like I said, you want to hug the bottom a little bit more. You don't want to use top water. But basically, the same way you're going to attack any spot in the summer, try to put that into one of your winter spots. and learn from there. I mean, like I said, choke points, rips, tidal flats, all those are the things you want to look for. Salt marshes, creeks, maybe if there's any creeks or heron runs, stuff like that. That's going to hold bait, and what's going to make you think that is going to possibly be a cold water fish line there.
Yeah, and you just answered the question that I completely forgot about. I was going to ask you, obviously, when the migratory fish show up, we see, the rebel jumping minnow, the bone rebel jumping minnow. It's the best lure for those migratory fish that come through. It imitates anything, but it's a topwater plug. Holdover fishing, are you throwing like swimming plugs, and obviously you canceled out topwater there, but are you throwing things that work the middle of the water column, or are you mainly sticking to the bottom and taking a small soft plastic across the bottom?
So around this time of year, like obviously like early holdover season, as in fishing like November, December, you could use something like a swatter, an SP minnow, a subsurface plug, maybe even a topwater plug. I mean, I know guys down in CT that catch them on needles still in December.
Really?
Yeah, it's absolutely mind blowing. And
I guess in a way the needles could be imitating a bigger glass eel.
You can also get a needle that's like a 3-ounce super strike, the red eyes. You can get those to really dredge bottom if you want to, so you can keep those needles very close to the bottom.
Yeah, exactly. Like what is a cold water bait gonna do? Or fish. It's gonna sit there standing still, and the needle kind of presents that imitation pretty damn perfect.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of action to the lure. If you think about it, it just glides through the water.
Yeah. And I guess another lure you could touch there was 24/7's new, the chubby needle, the smaller.
The Smithfield special.
The Smithfields. I think it's what, 4 inches with a flag.
It's 4.5 inches plus the flag, and it's fatter though. He makes another one that's like.
I know he makes a chubby needle that is like 3.5 ounces. I think he calls it his Montauk special, but I guess a smaller wooden bait like a needlefish could definitely serve people well.
Well, I mean, as you go into like the colder weather and into January and February, you really want to like slow things down, hug the bottom more, and like I said, try to find those warmer spots, because that's when the fish become lethargic. And you could think you're gonna bite, but in reality, you're just bumping a school of possibly hundreds or thousands of stripers just sitting on the bottom, hurtled up.
And they just won't touch anything.
Yeah, no, just lockjaw. Just sit there and donk them in the head and pick scales off your lure all day long.
It's probably one of the more aggravating things you have to do. While we're on the topic of lures, what kind of gear are you using, like rod and reel?
It depends. Like, if I'm trying to just kind of like run and gun from my car to like the spot, and I know I'm not going to spend like forever there, I use like a 7-foot rod. Sometimes I know if I'm going to go throw on, the waders and dress warm to go spend a couple hours, I'm going to take my 9-foot out so that way I can get a little bit more distance and, work a plug a little bit better. But I'm only using like a 4,000 size reel. Okay. I got a Stella 4,000 or a switch between my Van Stahl 150. So it's not like I'm using canal gear or like tuna fishing gear or I mean, I have a friend Dan, and he goes down as little as a 1,000 size reel. Yeah,
he goes super light.
We call him Danny 1K.
Danny 1K. We're gonna start sounding like Bob the Garbage Man, giving everyone nicknames.
I give that kid credit because he was on fish all year long on the 1K and fish up to 20 pounds. Yeah. Granted, it's not from shore; it's from a yak, but still, that's pretty damn impressive.
That's impressive to do it on a 1,000 size
once
reel.
Those fish kind of hit the surface, they realize what's going on, and that's when they kind of wake up. And, you just see the man getting towed around the pond all winter long.
Just holding on for the ride.
Yeah, that's another thing that we didn't touch on though, was how effective kayak fishing for holdovers are.
Yeah, I know it's big on the Vineyard. I know we talked about last year the gentleman who caught like the 20-pound fish in one of the salt ponds there
in December.
He was out in a small,
John
I guess
boat.
Almost like bass boat, like a flat bottom John boat with an electric motor, just trolling baits around, and he happened to pull a big fish. So
I mean, if you have like a little boat, access to a little boat or a little yak with a fish finder on it, it makes life so much easier to try to like obviously find everything. You read the fish finder.
You can mark the holes. You can.
And sometimes it blows your mind. Like my buddy Matt and my buddy Jeremy got mind blown on how much holdover fish were holding up in certain areas of Connecticut. They're over here thinking, oh, we're going to see maybe 50 fish on the screen in a day.
Yeah.
No, we're seeing
The whole screen.
50,000 fish in a day.
Yeah, the whole screen just
You know?
lights up.
And if it, sometimes you have a good day and all 50,000 fish are biting. Sometimes there's only
None of them are.
one fish biting if you're lucky.
Yeah. And I remember a couple weeks ago, I was down fishing with Matt Hefner, and you were out on the boat. And you kept sending me pictures of the fish you were marking.
Yeah, you've seen all that. I was showing you pictures. You've seen
and then
what looked like to me is
it was like wolf packs of tuna.
Yeah, so basically
They stack up on one another, maybe 3 feet off the bottom.
Yeah, I'll try to paint an image in the viewer's heads here, but basically it was a drop off that dropped off maybe 4 or 5 feet, and it looked like possibly bait that was trapped and huddling up in the corner of this drop off. Who knows? It could have been micros, it could have been white perch, could have been herring. But then about 5 feet after that drop off and that bait ball was, I don't know how many fish were on that page. Like,
Oh, I was trying to see if I could pull it up, but I don't.
like 7,
I don't
8,
have it
9,
anymore.
maybe 10 big
Marks too,
Yeah.
not like a micro fish
And-
like
and
you would expect to
Like I
mark.
said, that area, I've caught 20, 25 pound fish out of there.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, I
And
don't.
with the warmer temperatures, like I was saying now, like those fish are actually starting to drop out of their holdover spot. They're
yes,
starting
yes,
to
they
move.
are. They're starting to move closer to the mouths.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing that we can touch base on is like
Like this time of year,
This
you
time
really
of year,
want to
yeah.
not focus deep. You want to start looking
Cover
for
your bases.
You want to cover your bases. You can start up the river, but honestly, you'd probably want to start around like a choke point right around halfway or even closer to the mouth.
That's,
Start at a choke point and then move your way to the mouth.
yeah, that's a good.
I would say at this point, honestly, start at the mouth and move upriver,
Yeah, so
Yeah, that too.
lately,
because it's more likely those fish will be moving out than staying way back.
Yeah.
So lately, this time of the year, yeah, I kind of honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I do start at like the mouths of rivers.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty much sure you remember when I brought you to a certain place in Rhode Island.
Yes.
You started at the mouth of the
And
river
we moved our way
and
back.
then moved our way back.
Yeah.
And it produced that night.
It produced.
We got like, what, fish up to 30 inches?
Yeah.
Nothing crazy, but still
Fun fish.
Fish for this time of year.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
the 30-inch fish this
I
time
mean,
of year is incredible.
So if you're getting a fish over 30 inches in the holdover off season, you are doing fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, don't think you're doing something wrong because you're getting 30-inch fish. No, most people in the holdover season are getting 20, 24,
If any.
If that.
6.
If that.
Sometimes
If
it's
that.
micro
Micro
12,
micros,
13,
yes,
14-inch
yes,
fish. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, I was fishing last night and I got a micro and the thing was fat as all hell. I will tell you that. And
They're
this thing,
chewing.
dude, this thing must have been all of 15 inches, but had a belly of like a 25-inch fish.
Yeah,
Like,
like I
what
said,
the
with this
hell?
warmer temperature, they're starting to really eat right now.
Yeah,
So.
and yeah, especially with it being early April, don't be afraid to burn those jigs in. Like I said, late November, early December, you can still burn lures in. In late March, early April, you can still burn some lures in.
Yeah,
and you can
kind of
still
the-
trigger.
The transitions of the season, I guess.
Yeah, like all night last night, like I was kind of
Just
Huh.
slow rolling them in.
yeah, I was slow rolling. I was kind of dog hopping. That's another thing we can talk about. Don't be afraid to dog hop because obviously, in your local rivers, there's got to be some docks. Whether you got to go trespass on somebody's property or
Which we're not encouraging.
You're not encouraging.
We're telling you, don't do
But-
that. But if you have to,
yeah.
do it at your own risk.
Basically, what I'm trying to get to is if you see any lights in the water too, don't be afraid to fish the lights, just like you would with any kind of schoolie spot, because bait's holding the light, and they're going to get warmth from the light, and the fish are going to run the shadow line. So as of last night, that's what I was doing. I was saying hi to people who were staring at me through their back windows as I caught a couple fish.
There you go.
I showed one of them. They gave me a thumbs up. I laughed, threw it back, walked away.
And what kind of conditions are you fishing? I know you fish nonstop every chance you can get. But are you fishing mainly during the day, at night? Like, what are you looking for? Phases of the moon, does that matter?
Yeah, like
you fishing in the rain, or are you doing better when it's a mild night?
basically, you kind of still want to bring, like I said, that summer experience into the winter holdover situation here.
Okay.
Pre-storm bites, after storm bites, moon phases. Yeah, you still want to check all that and rely on all that because that will be your friend. Yeah, don't be afraid. If you're gonna have a blizzard, it's going to be 3 feet of snow. Get out there minutes before the blizzard to fish into that blizzard because you will be catching some fish. I know I have buddies out there that have done it. I mean, I haven't done it in a full blown blizzard, but yeah, it's been snowing pretty good. And me and my buddy Jeremy, for an example, we had actually a couple of years ago. It was a good snowstorm, and me and him were banging fish left and right for at least a good half hour, 45 minutes into the storm. Once like an inch or two of snow kind of got on the ground, then we were like, all right,
slowed up. All right, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here before the roads get a shit show.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, same thing. Pre-storm bites, fish them. Moon phase, fish them. Just pick and choose your day on weather. Not weather, temperature, I should say. You don't want to be fishing in 20-degree weather and getting your guides all icy and frozen.
Okay, and now say you're holdover fishing, whether it's this time of year, a couple weeks earlier, and you do catch a fish with lice. Migratory fish are going to show up any day. You end up landing a fish with ice. How's your approach to fishing going to change for your future trips? Are you going to change gear? Are you going to change spots? What's the big switch for you from holdovers to migratory fish?
Yeah, definitely if I was to catch a fish with lice, then that's it. Kind of putting the holdover gear away. Getting gear for fishing out front and going to start playing with schoolies out front and hopefully get the first batch of slots coming in, and then after that, hopefully get some big girls. Yeah.
And do you notice that the slot fish and as you say, the big girls, do they ever, during their migration, do they come up the coast and into the rivers and the salt ponds because the bait? Do they kind of cruise the beaches, or does it change year to year?
Some spots change year to year, but mostly you can figure out a pattern. And yeah, don't be afraid to those same holdover spots. I know guys, besides say the Connecticut River or something.
Yeah.
Clearly by May's done and those bait on all that bait pushes out of there.
The river's done.
That river's going to be too warm to hold these stripers.
Yep.
But
and as weird as it is, I'm looking at the map of the water temperatures now, which will get more in depth. It looks like some spots down in Connecticut are almost at that point.
Yeah.
Where the water's too warm.
Oh, there's fish already dumping out the rivers.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely is.
So I guess that's a good sign for us. We'll see what it does to their fishery, but our fishery should pick up pretty soon here. I didn't mean to cut you off there if you wanted to.
I forgot my train of thought.
Okay.
Still in a moment.
Yeah, but another thing to take into factor is when you're playing with schoolies, not playing, but catching schoolies in the back rivers, there are bigger fish out front that you won't even know are there until everybody's like, oh, there's big fish up front.
Yeah, don't be
don't be that guy to.
Although you're excited that the migratory fish are here and there's schoolies in the rivers, don't be afraid to be the guy who kind of puts down the light gear and heads out to his big fish spots because
they come fast.
They come and go fast, especially in the spring.
They're only a week or two behind the schoolies and slawfish. People are oh, it's usually a month. Last year, me and you, we started getting big beach fish the first week of May.
Yeah, if not the last week of April.
Yeah, so we were on nice fish early. Granted, last year was also the earliest year that we saw fish that caliber.
Yeah, and some of your holdover spots, I was trying to touch base on. Yeah, that was the train of thought I lost.
Yep, there you go. You got it back.
A lot of big fish do shoot up into those spots when the bait push in, and they do what they do real quick for the week or two that they're in there. And like I said, there's some holdover spots that I know that, yes, granted, the fish ain't. Oh, this kid.
I'm throwing Jared off here. He's easy to throw off, so it's fun.
Just easily distracted, but yeah. Shit, I don't even want to say it. But yeah, basically, don't be afraid to fish those back-based spots because when the fish move in, they'll move in for a week or two before pushing north to cooler waters. And yeah, there's still guys that work them and still catch some decent-sized fish out of them all year long until they start migrating back.
Yeah, and we had, I know me and Ian over in Wareham. You can guess the 50,000 spots that we were at, but you do notice that the migratory fish that come up, I was always used to fishing like the Wee Wee Antic River, small, whether it was like, black and blue eel tail on a jig head, or whether it was just a small soft plastic, to noticing last year that you're throwing big baits. I mean, we were throwing 7-inch docks, 9-inch docks, and you were having, those 20-inch migratory fish go airborne for these big baits in the rivers.
Yeah, I mean, when we fished tonight, even on the even in the rivers, like you can throw some big metal lips, like red fins and all those bigger baits, and you'll still have small fish eat it. Like they're not
fish that have no business eating those bugs. Yeah.
I was fishing with a friend the other night, and she was throwing big X5 bait.
Yeah.
Like a 20-inch
Kept
fish,
getting eaten.
Smacked it.
Yeah.
And that was it. Just was one with the lure. And I was just like, oh, that fish is 20 inches, and it went after the thing that's like almost the size of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I probably sound like a broken record at this point, but once that water heats up, they're hungry. Like they will eat.
They want to eat.
You will definitely notice a difference. It'll be like 1 week they won't be chewing, and then all of a sudden you're just getting knee hardest hits. You're like, where did this hit even come from? It's crazy. Like a little micro will feel like a decent sized schoolie, to be honest with you.
They whack them.
Last night, this one hit right at the water's edge, right by my feet. And
water going everywhere, taking drag.
It didn't take any drag. It just stayed there, but the hit was so aggressive. I thought I don't even know. I thought I got hung up on a rock pretty much.
Yeah.
At full speed, like cranking at full speed and all. Bam! I'm like, damn. All right, I got to fish. I'm not stuck.
Little guy had some power.
He had a little power behind him.
That's funny.
Had his Wheaties in the morning.
Well, we touched on water temperature a little bit there, but for migratory fish, according to the scientists, if you feel like listening to them, the water temperatures you want to look for are going to be between 46 and 65 degrees. For me, in my experience, for feeding temperatures for migratory fish are 52 to 68. 52 for me. As a boat guy out in Buzzards Bay, 52 was always the magic number.
Did he just call himself a boat guy?
He is a boat guy.
When did this happen?
Always.
He's always a boat guy.
I've always been a
I'm
boat
the one
guy.
that got him into the beach fishing thing.
Yes. I guess breaking news, Connor's a boat guy.
They hate on me for being a boat guy.
I don't hate on you for it.
Yeah, that's where I started. That's my roots.
But yeah, 52 to 68 degrees. Obviously 68 degrees, you won't find a lot of bigger fish holding in that. It is a little warm, but a 52 degree water temperature is pretty good. I would say at the 46 mark, Jared, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but 46 degrees, those holdover fish will become a little less lethargic and kind of start acting like normal stripers again.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Okay.
I don't know. I want to say the water was probably around that between 48 and 46 degrees, I'd say. Christmas Day, I probably have a picture of a fish finder, so I could probably honestly really tell you. But a push of heron moved in, and that didn't stop every single holdover in the freaking pond to hit the surface and cause the top of action all day long.
Yeah.
Like there was like a sliver of ice covering the surface, and as soon as the first blitz happened,
It just
there was no more ice.
erupted.
And it was like, oh, there's that corner. Oh yeah, there's like there's 30 fish over there going off on some heron. Oh, you see that heron? That heron just got shot out the water. There's a fish following it. Holy shit, dude. Christmas Day. Yeah, that was awesome. But yeah, water temperature around that.
Christmas
40.
Blitz at 98, or whatever friggin' Bob says. Bob the garbage man, that video. We have that video on repeat in the office with AJ and Tom. So I guess, yeah, it's a weak fish Christmas Blitz or whatever. But that is funny. I was looking at the kind of crossing over between
43. It was 43 degrees.
43 degrees.
43, and these fish were
That's impressive.
blasting out the water on heron.
Yeah.
So that goes to show you that
Sometimes they just don't care.
No, they really don't. Like I said, my buddy Matt just came back from Jersey, and he said water temperature down there was around, I think he said like 48. And he was seeing full-blown bogeys being shot out the sky.
Yeah, I think right here, if we go down to Jersey, I don't know where all the water temperatures went.
Matt probably says it's like 50 or something.
You say around 50.
Yeah, it probably is. I think he said 48 on his fish finder.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why. I just lost the temperatures on my computer here, but I was crossing over between the on the water migration report and the NOAA coastal water temperature guide, and I did notice that the migratory fish tend to follow the water temperature that's hanging around 50 degrees. As that 50-degree mark pushes up the coast, those fish quickly,
Well,
I guess, ravage that area.
like I said, besides the herring that push in the colder water, I mean that 50-degree temp is also magical for a lot of times squid. I know mackerel tend to show up a little bit before that 50-degree mark. So yeah, migratory fish are definitely going to be following the schools of squid and the schools of mackerel that are floating up here. Granted, it ain't going to be the full push of them that's following the school of bogies, but yes, you are going to have a smaller batch of fish coming up here following those type of baits.
Okay. I just lost water temperature, so I'll cover what it was the other day.
Just walk over to the canals to get into the water.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. The old-fashioned way.
Yeah, but when you're switching gears from like holdover fishing to looking for those early season spots, other than looking at the spots that you've already been fishing, what else do you look for in a spot for like early season fish?
Migratory fish.
Yeah.
Really look to see like what kind of bait is there, to be honest with you.
Okay. So you would say migratory is big bait.
Yeah.
Look for bait.
Like big if I'm gonna start fishing like migratory fish, I'm definitely gonna be looking for birds working. If I see a pile of birds working out front, then I'm gonna stick around and see if those possibly push in a little bit closer. And if I do, then that's a shot of maybe trying to get first migratory fish. I mean, that's realistically around this time of year. If I'm not working and I'm cruising around early morning or late afternoon, I'm looking for schools of birds out by the beaches, up the rivers,
Just normal summertime fishing.
Normal summertime fishing stuff.
Okay. And like I said earlier, we were looking at the on the water report. Right now we have active schoolies around New London, Connecticut, and Narragansett in Rhode Island. Water temperatures in Connecticut are about 54 degrees. Today they're at about 56 degrees. And then in Rhode Island, we're looking at about 48 degrees. And it varies around the Cape. I know around the islands right now it's about 49. Out east on Monomoy, which is weird because I figured that would be the coldest. Monomoy is actually the warmest at 51 degrees. And Buzzards Bay is about 47. So, I mean, we're definitely in
right around that magic number at this point.
Yeah, I mean the migration report between last year and this year, they were a couple days apart, but they were the exact same map. So I guess I would go out and say we're in any day mode for fresh fish to come in.
Any day,
I think
given day.
Yeah.
There's a shit ton of fresh fish in Rhode Island already.
Yeah, Rhode Island's loaded.
And don't be one of them people that can't get off the couch and they got to rely on somebody's Facebook post to say that there's fresh fish here. You will feel 10 times better going out there and putting in.
If you're the guy who does it.
Yeah. Put in your own homework and you're going to feel a lot more that it's just you on a school of fish.
Well, hey, someone has to be the first. Like during the week this week, I think it was Tuesday morning, water temperature in Buzzards Bay was 46. We had a good tide in the canal, so I was talking with Bull, and we ended up going out Thursday morning. Hit a couple of spots we know that hold fish this time of year, maybe looking whether they were a resident holdover fish that kind of hung out in the canal all winter, or if it was a fresh fish. I mean, we don't have to go out there and give it 5-6 hours, but, we fished from 5 a.m. to 7:30, watched the Mayflower go by, went and got breakfast. I mean, it's, you can definitely get a couple hours in of fishing to be, I guess, the first guy. Because I would say if we caught a fish that morning, we probably would have been the first ones with a striper out of the canal this year.
Yeah, probably.
Not only do you feel good about it, but, you get to kind of be the guy running all your friends and saying, hey, what are you doing? I caught a fish. Why haven't you yet?
And just think about it. You end up going out there and finding a spot that's normally loaded with people, has no people there, and it's already loaded with fish. Like I said, you got that all to
Yeah.
win some.
Yeah, you can take
So,
advantage.
Yeah, definitely will.
So I know we were talking a little bit about the herring earlier. I did want to touch on that because we had a big thing happen this year with the herring. I mean, they showed up in Middleborough
3 weeks early.
Yeah, wicked early.
3 weeks or a month early than what they usually do. And I mean, it's even, they showed up a couple weeks early last year, but this year was shocking how early those herring showed up. But despite them being early, like I said earlier, the migration looks like it's staying about the same. It looks like water temperature is kind of overriding the bait factor and keeping those fish south of us a little bit. But I mean, we're really at any day moment. I mean, there's plenty of active holdover fish around here. It's just a matter of time before those fresh fish just stop being stubborn and make their way up to us. And I won't be surprised if we see early this week, we see guys on the vineyard in the islands start landing some serious fish that were either holdovers or smaller, fresher fish.
Rumor has it that some fresh fish are already starting to cross into Massachusetts area.
Yeah.
Rumor has it.
Rumor has it.
Not really rumor has it. It's just actually one of my buddies.
Okay.
That fish down by
Southern Mass.
Southern Mass.
Well, I guess southwestern Mass.
No, not southwestern. It'd be more of like Rhode Island border. And like I said, some
Yeah, wouldn't that be southwestern?
Yeah.
If you
Technically speaking, it's southwest.
I'm still thinking more towards like New
Western
York,
Mass.
Western
Yeah.
Mass, like that Springfield area and all that bullshit.
Yeah, no. He's talking about like the Bass Rhode Island line. Kind of around there, I guess.
Yeah. All the fresh fish are just starting to push in. I'm not saying there's a huge amount of them, but there's
definitely some fish pulling with lice.
Definitely a lot of bait and a lot of birds working the other day, from what I've seen and what buddy was also telling me.
Sure. And I do want to note, I saw the post on the water, but sea lice this year can be transmitted to humans. You didn't see this?
What?
Yeah. So the sea lice on the fish was found last year or over the winter to have transferred over to pets. So they were warning. No, I'm pretty sure it wasn't. Maybe I'm dumb and it was.
I'm pretty sure it was a joke.
But I don't know. I'll look into it quick.
I thought that was a joke.
I'm gonna keep some crabs in my pocket because clearly you can't get lice if you have crabs.
Jeez. All right, that might have to get cut out. That's definitely getting cut out. Let me look this up. Yeah, no, it's 100% right. The CDC, beginning this spring, noted cross-species transmission with sea lice appearing on pets and humans exposed to ocean water carriers of sea lice like striped bass. So they do make a comb, I guess. It's honestly just a hair pick that is supposed to help get sea lice off you. So if you are worried about it, definitely go out and get one of those combs. But I still can't believe you just said that. But
good thing these guys aren't going to hear that.
Yes, you guys. I cut it out, but you guys missed something funny there.
It wasn't funny. It was actually a lame joke.
It was a lame joke,
It was
but
real funny.
it was funny. But like I said, the sea lice is transferring to other people and animals, so just be eerie of that and kind of tread cautiously. But unless anybody else has anything more to add, I
Not
think,
on early season.
I mean, we hit
Yeah,
a lot.
Early season.
I would say don't be afraid. Don't be the guy who
Waits on the report.
waits for the canal. Get out. I mean, this year can be your year to kind of expand your horizons fishing-wise. I know me and Ian are going to try a couple of things that are risky, but the reward
Could be.
great. So,
I'm not going to go there.
or it's going to be terribly bad and the podcast is going to end because me and Ian will no longer be with you guys. But, I mean, we're young and dumb, so we have the opportunity to do that. But don't be afraid to try something new. go throw a pencil popper on a beach one morning. Those fish aren't just going to come up and jump into the canal and sit there all summer. I mean, they're going to move up the coastline. So if you can look and find beaches that, have structure or even just holes that may hold fish and bait, I would highly recommend you give it a shot. There's honestly way less people who fish the beaches than the canal. So you can get out of the crowds. You don't have to deal with it. And you can almost catch bigger fish easier because it's not as much of a battle of people. So I think that's all we have for you this week. Obviously, this will be the first episode of the year, so sorry if it was a little rocky. We'll get back into the groove of this as the season goes on. Jared, I want to thank you again for coming on.
No, thank you.
Shout out to Joe once again.
Dude.
Great guy, and we will see you guys next week.